I am definitely feeling the chill outside and it is only getting colder. And when that happens, I know it's time to make a couple of adjustments to my plant care routine. So I have come up with 5 tips to care for your plants this winter, and I want to share them with you. So here they are. The days are darker, the days are shorter, which leads me to our first tip for caring for your plants during the winter, and that is scale back the watering. At this time of year, your plants are not taking in as much water, and that's because many of them are actually going dormant at this time of year. So if you regularly water every 2 to 3 weeks, you may be finding yourself scaling that back to every 3 to 4 weeks. Plants like snake plants and aloes and cactus, they're only being watered every 4 weeks at this time of year. And they like to be completely dry before they get watered again. And so whatever your normal watering routine is with your plants, just make sure you scale that back. And the reason why this is so important is because excess water can lead to root rot. And believe me, you don't want to deal with root rot. It is such a headache. And so it's much better to just make some little adjustments to your watering routine at this time of year. On to tip number 3, which is move your plants. And when I say that, what I mean is it's cold outside, it's warm inside, which means there's drafts coming in from outside, heaters are on inside, and there's just an imbalance of temperatures happening. So you want to move your plants away from any cold drafts that are coming into your house, and you want to keep your plants away from any heat sources that are on in the house. Now, with that said, when you are moving your plants, those sun-loving plants like aloes and cactus, or cacti, you want to make sure that they stay as close to the light as possible. Now, if your space is just not getting enough light, you may need to get some artificial light. So that could be a grow light, that could be extra lamps in your space that you put on your plants. You just want to take this time to assess the temperatures and the light. Now, that brings us to tip number 3, which is increase the humidity. With the heat on inside, the humidity levels drop. And so plants like this gorgeous calathea and the dracaena, these guys especially like the increased humidity. And so in order to give them what they need, you might need to have a humidifier going on. Now that's the best way to increase the humidity in your space, and you can group your plants around that. Other ways to achieve the extra humidity is to group your plants together, and better yet is to add a pebble tray, which is basically you take a tray, put some pebbles on there, put your plants on top of the pebbles, and then add some water to the water tray. And as the water evaporates, it's going to give your plants some extra humidity. Tip number 4 is forget about the fertilizer and forget about repotting. Your plant is most likely dormant right now or not growing very much, so it doesn't need the extra nutrients from the fertilizer, and it definitely doesn't need the extra room from repotting. What can happen is if a plant is in too big of a space and there's too much soil for the plant, it's going to get overwatered because there's so much water in that soil that it is going to be forced to soak up, and it's going to basically create root rot. And like I've said before, you definitely don't want that. The other thing that can happen is when you repot your plants, there's most likely going to be some root damage, and the plant is not going to be able to recover as quickly during this time. So unless you absolutely have to, save the repotting and the fertilizer for the end of winter, the beginning of spring, where your plant can really take advantage of that when it's ready to start growing again. Our final tip for taking care of your plants during the winter, tip number 5, is to give your plants a clean and a trim. Now, it can be easy to forget about your plants during this time because they don't require as much attention from you, but it's actually a really great time to give them a little bit of extra attention. If you haven't cleaned your plants in a while, this is a really great time to do that. You can take your trusty water bottle, spray bottle, give your plants a spray and clean them off. You can use a cloth if you need to do that as well, but just take your plants into the bathroom and give them a nice clean. Now, I have done a video about cleaning your plants, so you can go and take a look at that. The other thing that you can do is give your plants a little trim. So this little Haworthia has got some dead leaves, just one actually, that I'm gonna clean. But take the time to go through and get rid of any dead leaves, trim any plants that need to be trimmed, like maybe your Boston fern, it's got some little brown edges, and get rid of that stuff. So come the spring, your plants are ready and able to give all their energy into the new growth. All right, there you go. 5 tips to taking care of your plants this winter. I hope that helps, but if you have any questions, send me a message. And if you have any tips of your own, let me know. I'd love to hear them. I think I'm gonna go give this guy a little bit of extra attention and go clean off his leaves because they're looking a little dusty.